Okay, guys, we'll go ahead and get started. We're still waiting for a number of advisors, and Craig, I'm not sure if you want us to wait longer, if you wanted to get started.
Why don't we go ahead and get started? Sounds like you've got a critical mass there.
Okay. Everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. You wanted to introduce yourselves on the phone first?
Sure. Okay, hi, everybody. My name is Hootie Kalamkarian. I believe I expect that I met most people when we were there in December. I'm a postdoctoral research associate at the Community College Research Center. We're one of the research groups that is partnering with MC3 for this study, and we're excited to be speaking with all of you again today, and really thankful that you're all spending another hour and a half with us today and tomorrow. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Melissa.
Hi, everyone. Melissa Boynton from MDRC. Had the opportunity, I think, again, to also come out on site. I think it was in December, maybe, or November now. And so, again, from MDRC, I'm happy to address any questions. So if there are questions for myself or Hootie as we go through, we're not visible or in person, unfortunately, for this round, but are happy to address any specific questions that you have for our team. Thanks again for making time to meet with us. We are excited about the upcoming launch of this project. So, and again, want to thank you all for your participation.
And I just want to confirm one more time, Wes, you're still good hearing? I know we had a thumbs up before. Perfect. So Craig and I are kind of going to be tag teaming today, as well as from CCRC and MDRC. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can on the phone.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to go through the presentation, and this is really, in December was our kickoff that was very high level, telling you about what the research study will be like. Now a lot of time has passed. It feels like a lifetime as we got through the crunch of December and January. So before we really start the process next week, we wanted to kind of bring everyone together between today and tomorrow and remind you all of what we're doing in the spring semester. So today's conversation is really going to be focusing on the outreach plan. So it's going to be my favorite parts of the world, which are the detail-oriented, the down and dirty, nuts and bolts of things. And I'm sure lots of conversations. Hootie and Melissa, right prior to this, we had a previous meeting where we introduced the My Advisor Blackboard space for everyone. So we had a lot of robust conversations through that process, and I'm expecting that they will continue during this afternoon session. And then tomorrow we reconvene at the same time, different place for us here at Central. I forget if West you changed, I'm not sure. But same time, 1 o'clock, we'll be convening again, and that will be more to discuss what that advising session actually looks like when we meet with these students. Sound like a good game plan so far? Anything to add, Hootie or Melissa?
That sounds great. Just wanted to know, logistically, Stephanie, I believe you are presenter on this WebEx, so you can feel free to move the PowerPoint however you want to be able to do that.
And I just want to remind everyone, and I think this is a term, we certainly know the iPASS term, it's used a lot here at Montco, but the term that I think that we'll be moving towards using more and more is that SIP language. So it's that SSIP that I know Hootie and Melissa talked about during their presentation back in December. And that's, and I always get my S's confused, sustained first, then strategic, integrated, and personalized advising. So sustained, strategic, integrative, and personalized. Did I get that right?
That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah. It's integrated and personalized, yeah.
Perfect. So just as, as a foundation part for all of us, that's really where this whole enterprise comes from. Sound good? Okay. So I'm going to be moving away from the speaker, Hootie and Melissa, so to go to the presentation. So if you can't hear me, let me know and I'll come back, okay?
No problem.
And Craig has joined us now as well. So some of this we touched upon earlier today when we were talking about our different Blackboard experiences. And can you see our screen? You're good? Okay. So we just want to remind you that we are focusing really on degree-seeking students. So this is a lot of our work out of iPASS from the fall semester. We, guest students are removed from everything we're talking about today because we know that they're a very heterogeneous group of folks that may or may not need different resources. Based on our recommendations out of the fall semester, we're also removing certificate students from a lot of this work. We're also not talking about dual enrollment students because, again, the term dual enrollment is really broad. For the RCT, the randomized control trial that we're doing with CCRC and MDRC, we are removing veteran students. And the reason for this is that they already have additional restrictions on their account. They have to come in to see an advisor each semester. Likewise, we decided, and David, please jump in if I'm wrong in any of these things, we decided to remove ESL students, the students who are still in their ESL coursework, because again, there's a question of, how much are they going to get out of doing the My Career Plan if they're in ESL 005, for example. We're also removing probation and suspension. We're going to talk about them today, but because they have their own set of restrictions, they're also not in the RCT. And then the other catch with the RCT group is that these are students that have to be enrolled in at least one 15-week class. Now, they could be in a 15 and a 10, or 15 and a 7 and a 7. It could be any combination, but they have to be enrolled in at least one 15-week class so that they have the traditional outreach plan experience. Does that make sense for everyone? Any questions so far? Ask away. This is our space.
Not part in the 15-week session. So you mean if they're
not? Yes. Yes, my fault for how I wrote it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So it should have been those who were only in 7 or 10 weeks are removed. Yes, that's an excellent point. Other questions so far?
The 7 and 10 weeks removed.
If they're only in accelerated courses, and you'll see why, because the outreach plan is really based on a 15-week model. So if they're only here for the second 7 week, they're missing so much of the outreach. So we're only looking at students who are registered in at least one traditional course.
But they could still be, they would still be included in the iPASS bucket.
Yes. Yep, so the asterisks are only related to the RCT, not the first semester. Are you driving? Awesome. Thank you. There's a little arrow up at the top. Right now it says 3. Middle, top, down, right. Right. Nope, to the right. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so these are you have to bear with me whenever I do something. These are the 6 lanes or 6 buckets that students can fall into in the semester. Okay? So for those of us that just came from the Blackboard meeting, you'll see my advisor, regular, 2, and 2 now becomes 3 after conversations with Mary Kate. Okay? So we'll walk through each of these columns. So the first group are our iPASS students. We all are very familiar with those students. Those are the first semester students. So I'll use this semester as an example, students who are starting in the spring 2017. First semester Frannies. They have to do their orientation, they have to do their My Career Plan, they have to come and meet with us. Do their educational planning. This is the Blackboard we just came from with the 3 columns. Oh, I thought you wanted to ask something. I'm sorry. Everybody's still with me. So nothing's really changing with iPASS this semester. Bless you. They have a required appointment, and we're going to follow up with them at midterms like we do every semester. Second column is our new group, which are like the borderline Billies. So these are students that have been identified as at risk through predictive analytics. Now remember, and I'm going to throw a number out here, say there's 500 students in this intervention group. That means there are 500 students also that are in a control group that we don't know who they are. And we don't want to know who they are because we don't want to treat them any differently. So we're all going to get I think I divided 500 by 22, and it's like 30-some students each. Not that it's going to be perfectly distributed like that. But these are going to be people that are in this intervention, which is why we're doing this work with CCRC and MDRC. Everybody still with me? So these are students who are in their 2nd semester, 3rd semester, 7th semester. We don't know what semester they're in, just not in their 1st semester here. And for these students, we're going to be doing some additional outreach. That's what we're going to be spending the most time today talking through. So, for example, we're going to be launching a survey or a test through Blackboard soon to see how is your semester going so far. So, really early touch point for these students. We're going to also be asking faculty to do an early alert survey. So don't wait till midterm times. We want to hear around week 4, how are these students doing? We're going to require these students to do my career plan, even if some of them, I think Sharon pointed out earlier, some of them might be ahead of the game because some of them might be coming out of fall semester when they had to do it anyway. Other students, this might be their first introduction to this tool. So we'll talk through that. And then again, that educational planning component that's always present in our work. These students will have access now. We designated it. So for those of you taking notes, this will be the advising to Blackboard experience. They will also have a required appointment with their advisor, and we will be following up with them at midterm time. Then, and maybe Craig, you wanted to cover this lane?
So we have the moderate and elite, who are the students who actually fall under probation. So with this demographic of 735 students, we've actually filtered that number down to about 235 and additional requests. Filter those students down so that we can just identify the full-time students that fall within that. Those students will be responsible for attending academic probation workshop and 2 lunch and learn sessions, skill building sessions. Is there a difference with this thing right here?
These students, the moderate and elites, will be in our third now black. We were talking about 2A and 2B. Now we're at 2 and a 3. So these students will be just lumped in with our regular number 3. There are 3.
They're everybody else?
For the Blackboard experience, yes. So, but they will have, as Craig just mentioned, additional requirements. So we'll still be confirming that they do their probation workshop, they do their lunch and learns, and they're required, as all probation students are.
So these, I'm confused. I am.
Okay.
The moderate millies are all on probation. They're not first semester students. They're not in the RCT group. Because the RCT group has to be in their second semester?
The RCT group excludes students who are on probation. So the RCT group, and I don't know if you want to jump in, because I don't know if we know exactly what they look like yet, but they're students who, through the predictive analytics Civitas work, they're not on probation, but they're in that sweet spot where they probably need a little intervention. Like they're not in the red, they're not really challenged students, and they're not the perfect petunias. They're kind of in that middle, but they're not on probation yet. The whole point is they could be academic warnings. I don't think we've removed that.
No, they could be.
Your moderate millies are Craig's
Borderline Billy.
Oh, this is borderline Billy. So borderline Billy are the RCT group. So that's what we'll be spending most of today talking about.
Okay.
So these are the students that are not yet on probation, or they may just be coming off probation, but they're not on probation right now. But they're people who just, we hypothesize that they need a little extra support.
So we don't really need to do anything different with the moderate millies than we've always done.
No, they have to, well, we don't, they still have to come in to meet with us. But in order to get registered, they're going to have to do a probation workshop with Craig.
Right.
And 2 lunch and learns.
But that doesn't have anything to do with us, other than we have to tell them they need to do that.
They can't register until they've done it. So we're going to be a gatekeeper.
And that's
for
for
them.
all probation students.
No, so that'll be, so there's 735 students identified on probation. I can't manage 700. So we ran these 735 through Civitas, and we've identified those moderate students. So out of a meeting yesterday, I realized if the program for all of these students, I would have to offer evening, day, Saturday sessions. It's just not, and online sessions. So that's not manageable. So this number, and I'm waiting for this particular number, these 235s will be further drilled down to make sure that they're not online students, then they're going to be full-time students, further increasing the likelihood that they will be within the lunch and learn, which are at this point only offered on Mondays and Wednesdays during downtime. So this is a pilot study for the academic intervention program.
Gotcha.
So we'll grow it once we kind of get a handle and get a sense on where the students fall. So I'm not certain what this particular number looks like, but right now we're looking at 235.
But in the meantime, I have gotten questions from students who got the probation letter about the workshops. So what do we tell them? Wait till you hear something else?
So that letter actually went out of a different office.
Yeah.
So there's a new letter. Since Nicole has been out sick, she hasn't approved the letter. There's a modified letter explaining what we're going to do forward. So that letter still hasn't gone out.
And that's going to go to all 735?
And it's going to go to all 735 students. Because the bulk of these students will just follow the traditional, they're encouraging you to come and meet an advisor, you need to before you register. This number, which I don't know what this number is going to be now, will go through my academic program. So we're going to look to see if these additional.
Are the letters going to be individualized?
The letters will be
those?
individualized, and these will have a specific call to action.
Okay.
These will have the general call to action. These students here will have a more specific tailored call to action.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for those to be approved.
When we meet the probation students, how are we going to be able to tell that they?
Yes. So we're going to be using Starfish. So when students attend the workshop, they'll receive some of the things, I don't know what you ended on, either it's a to-do that Craig raises at the start of the semester that he then closes when they attend, or a kudos that they've attended. So either way, either the presence or absence of something, which he'll determine will be important. If, and they are creating or they created a special perk. So it'll only be for the students that you see this perk on. You have to do this investigation.
This will be pros with so probation monitoring. But everything, we're working it so that everything is going through Starfish, and Stephanie suggested that we raise the to-dos. It's a pilot. Be flexible. Bear with it. Tony's and Tony.
I just met with a student who I know fits in this category, probably one of the 735, and I guarantee you he's not going to do the work. Gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning, delivers newspapers, comes to class, and goes right to his next job. What do we do in those cases?
Be a full-time student and
Yes.
go around campus. We haven't figured that out. So outside of them being required to meet with an advisor, the perk is the registration hold. So they have to complete these things in order to register. Again, when I kind of thought about the availability for it, we're going to have something required for the students attend the lunch and learn. We need to make these, have them available to the students. We thought about possibly videotaping them and archiving them. How effective will that be if they can just click it because it's done for the takeaway? So the goal is to see what type of interventions we can actually do with these students to enhance the likelihood that they will move out of that moderate arena so that they can persist.
What is that word? Grand campus?
Grant campus. So no online students, no
Okay.
virtual students.
That perk will only be on the third line.
Third line.
They're not in our rate.
Nope.
We will take the perk off. Or we'll take the perk.
It depends who, at the meeting yesterday, it's almost like the metaphor of the train ticket. So whoever's their fourth punch. So if they do, in an ideal world, they would do the 2 lunch and learns, they go to the workshop, and then they conclude with the advisor who would take the perk off and talk about registration. But they might come in and meet with us first, and we have that probation conversation. We talk about what their plan of action is for next semester, and then we say, hey, by the way, you have to do these other 3 things, and then it would be Craig who takes the perk off once those other 3 things are done. So that's why when I was pulled into the meeting yesterday, we really need to talk about is the to-dos, like there has to be some mechanism of tracking the 4 punches, if you will. Hi.
West Campus, do you guys have any questions about the moderate millies?
So for the purpose of our colleagues on the phone, any questions about the borderline billies, to go back to the RCT focus today? So we know that these are going to be students that are identified as at risk, not on probation, not suspension, not first semester students, but who have identified as possibly needing some extra, again, going back to what we talked about earlier, some extra SIP advising.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So you need faculty input. What are they going, because some faculty don't have homework assignments, it's just like a midterm and a final.
Right.
So how are they going to make that determination about a possible at-risk student? Are they all going to have something standardized where they all have to do this in order to determine who is at risk?
I certainly don't think with academic freedom that we can require that, but I think Hootie answered this question, or Melissa, when they came in December. It's going to be a series of early alerts, just the ones that we're used to getting now. So it could be an attendance concern early on. It could be, so maybe I don't have a grade on an exam, but maybe I can tell based on the homework that's coming in or participation in class. So it's just really, it's nothing formalized. It's just really a check-in. And our hope, and this is, well, I shouldn't say our hope, my hope, is that this gets a conversation talking about best practice into the teaching world and the fact that you shouldn't be waiting until week 7 to have your first assessment. So I know Leanne is working. Leanne Hartman, our Associate VP, is working to get language out to the faculty, and CCRC and MDRC have been great in helping to draft that language so that they know that this is coming.
Good. We can see if there's no attendance or poor attendance, lack of participation. We can already see that on their flags, because that's what a flag.
Right, so this is raising flags, but in a systematic way. So right now we have to rely on the faculty to just on their own go in whenever they want to. But so this will be systematic. If they have a student that qualifies as a borderline Billy, a survey will launch, and just like how easy it is for them to do their attendance or their midterm, so my hope is that we'll get more early alerts in that week 4 time. So more faculty will be using it, not just the early adopters that are excited about it. Any other questions so far? Okay, so then we have our probation caddies. Those are just probation as always. They have that registration hold. They have to come in to meet with us, yada, yada, yada. This semester we'll also just be reaching out one extra way to, I call them the appeal Apollos. Those are students who are on financial aid appeal. Those students have to earn C's or better in all their classes. So even withdrawing from a class causes them to lose their financial aid for next semester. Now, these students may, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they may not be on probation. Like if they withdrew from all their classes in the fall, they could have lost financial aid, they could be on financial aid appeal. So these students actually might cut across different segments. So by reaching out to 2, 3, and 4, we may actually be catching some of these, but some of them we're missing. So this is just at midterm time, we're going to reach out to them just to remind them essentially, you can't withdraw, you can't get a D, you can't fail. Is that correct, Nancy? Sorry. So it's just a pure reminder to them, like, you need to be successful or you will definitely lose your financial aid. Yes?
Suspension is falling with the probation caddies.
Yep, nothing different for them.
My advisor, too.
These will all be in our new model advisor 3, that third bucket of, which we really didn't get to in our earlier meeting today. And then, yeah, Mary Kate, after discussing with Josh, changed those a little bit. So my advisor will be my advisor 2A will become my advisor 2, and then all the others will become 3. Yeah, sorry. And then the last one are our regular Romeos. They're just our regular old students. No holes, no requirements. Good luck and God bless. Okay? So this is our hope. So right now, under our current model, just looking at midterm outreach as an example, right now, we're actually responsible for reaching out to about 60% of our student caseload, because we always reached out to first semester students, all probation students, and all students who receive financial aid. We just arbitrarily chose those risk factors when we started Starfish. We had really no data to support it. We were just like, hey, what groups do we think that we should reach out to? So in this new model, you can see with the black line, it's so much smaller. So it's going to feel like a lot of work, but it's deeper work, not wider work, if that makes sense. So instead of reaching out to those 71% Romeos, I mean, we're still going to be here. It's still business as usual for those students. We're not depriving them of anything. But we're really focusing more intensely, again, going back to that step, we're more strategically focusing on the students that through our predictive analytics, we believe we can make the most difference. Does that make sense? So as we go through the rest of today, you're going to need those Oreos that are sitting in front of Tony. And I'll send some to West, I promise. But remember, it's just changing the way we do the work. So instead of focusing on more students, we're focusing on fewer students, but in a more meaningful way. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. Anything you want to add, Hootie or Melissa or West? Any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
So, So the identification of intervention students is happening as we speak. Yes. So hopefully by the end of this week or beginning of next week, we will know who our borderline billies are. They will be populated in that Blackboard experience that we've been talking about all day. So we will be able to log in. We will see them. We will also be putting a perk on those students. Because, again, they are required to come in for an advising appointment, so it will be a registration restriction. So you will see RCTI is the new name of the perk. So RCT intervention. This will also be created as an attribute in Starfish. So you will be able to see it on the perk screen. You will also be able to filter for it using the attributes in Starfish. And the third spot you will see it is they will be in your Blackboard experience, that My Advisor 2 experience.
Now, I had a question. I'm not even sure if this makes sense, but to identify our degree-seeking students rather than certificate when we go into as an attribute in Starfish, because if we're going to go in to track them and we use the attributes to track, like we usually say my advisees or my track whatever. So there'll be an attribute for like not have certificate students in there?
We can definitely talk about that, like when you would need it, because you should be able to search for your iPASS students using the perk. And then we'll be able to search for these students use the perk. Okay. We'll be able to search for credit students using the perk. So
we won't need that.
But should you decide that you need it at some point, we can easily add that in.
Okay.
Yes. But you might not. And remember, again, that we're going to be seeing the students who are in the treatment or the intervention group. We don't know who's in the control. David and I guess CCRC and MDRC have those secrets, and they won't be sharing them with us. Because, again, for those at-risk students, it's business as usual. They're somewhere in those Romeos. We just don't know who they are, and we don't want to know who they are, so we don't treat them any differently. So with me? Okay. So there's going to be 3 different types of messaging we're going to be sending out in the spring semester. First of all, through Blackboard, we're going to have a Did You Know series that goes to our iPASS students as well as our RCT students. This will be canned. They'll send you a template. All you have to do is send it as an email to your students, which we covered a little bit with Mary Kate, and we'll have a follow-up session if necessary. And this will be very factual. It's not going to be personalized. It's not intended to be warm and fuzzy. It's more, did you know we have free tutoring and information about tutoring? Do you know who the important people are on campus? Do you know Phil's name, Nicole's name, Craig's name? Do you know where to go if you have this question? So it's really factual communication that will be sent out. And again, that's to iPASS students, first semester students, as well as the intervention group. Then we'll have our standard outreach. So these are like our welcome messages, our registration reminders, midterm outreach. Those will happen through a variety of ways. So some of it will happen through Starfish, some of it will happen through Blackboard, and we're moving more and more into an Outlook model so that we get that personalization, so that it's no longer, if you remember when we send things through Starfish, it just says, hi, don't forget to register. If we do a mail merge through Outlook, it could say, hi, Sharon, don't forget to register. So on Friday, you've all been invited to a mail merge training as well, so I encourage you to attend that if you're not comfortable using mail merge. So there will be some things that we're doing to personalize it a little bit more. Yes, sir. That's correct. So that brings up a great point that every time we do any sort of outreach, we all, and I am so guilty of this, but this comes back to what I said earlier, and you're going to hear me say that 5 times today. We all have to be ensuring we're doing the same thing. Every time we send something through Blackboard or through Outlook, we have to make a note of it in Starfish. So that way it's being documented. It doesn't have to be sent to the student. Literally just add a note, communicated registration reminder through Outlook or something like that, just so that it's documented that we've done it. Yep. And copy, select all. Correct. And it doesn't have to be a message. It's just add a note, did this. Send email.
But you have to do that anyway to do the mail merge.
Correct.
So then it's just a matter of selecting them all.
Correct.
And then one note.
Yes. And again, you're not even sending the note to them. You're like, you won't check that box. It'll just be adding a note on their record. Sent email, did this. Yeah. Yes, Tony.
Are we doing the same type of training tomorrow?
So tomorrow's, at 1 o'clock tomorrow, it'll be more what are we doing.
Let me just say why. Because doing this like this does me no good. I need to be on it. So this is useless to me.
And we can certainly make that happen. So I will, after this, because I think some of us, I think over the past 2 years, some of us have become expert Starfish people, and some of us are still struggling. I think that's fair to say. So we can certainly have a training where not everyone needs to be there, because some of us are more comfortable in Starfish than others. But we can certainly offer a Starfish training. Absolutely. Yeah, this isn't, so that's why this morning's meeting was supposed to be more tactical, hands-on with Blackboard. The afternoon meetings are supposed to be bigger, more theoretical, what's happening, getting us ready. Fridays will be, again, more hands-on with the mail merge, so we can definitely have another hands-on with Starfish if you need.
That's full campus.
Yes. Everything has,
Will be in the room as far as West Campus.
I certainly, so I won't be doing the Starfish one. I'll have IT do that through their training. So I certainly can ask someone to go out there. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, no. Any other questions so far? Okay. And then the last one will be the more personalized messages. And these will be, we will, especially tomorrow, be talking through, and as I send these reminders out, some guidelines, things to do. But these will be a little more off script because they're going to be dependent upon the answers you get from the students. So it can't just be, registration reminder is pretty cut and dry, but this is, after their early alerts from their faculty, I can't give you templates for exactly what to say because it's all dependent upon what combination of early alerts they've received. So some of that, again, we'll be giving you, make sure you hit these key points, but some of it will be more flexible in this lane, in this column, because it has to be because of the more individualized nature of it. Make sense? Okay. So I will be, well, let me ask you guys this. We'll kind of take a vote, and Wes certainly voice as well. In some semesters, I send everything out kind of from the beginning and then trust that you're doing things every week. Do you prefer that model, or do you prefer the here's what we're doing this week, don't forget to do it model? I didn't hear what the response was, I'm sorry. Weekly? I saw Margaret raise her hand, but I didn't hear the answer. Weekly? Everyone feels comfortable with that? So if you don't like hearing from me, I apologize. But you probably want to read those emails.
So I have no problem with weekly. Yeah, so I like
That's what this is.
So we can use this as our
Yes.
bigger picture. Okay.
Exactly. It's just a matter of, like, do you want all the templates tomorrow and you're responsible for, okay. Yes, so this is the big picture. This is our roadmap, if you will, for the semester. But then what I'll do is at the end of every week, I'll send you what we're doing for the following week. Is that helpful to everybody? So again, I just encourage you, if you're someone who doesn't usually read my emails, you probably want to start reading them. With a smiley face, preferably. If you want me to... Well, the group that, so some of you are on that group, you know that we haven't gone through the entire semester yet. But we could within the next week. I mean, between CCRC's review, marketing's review, and our review, we could definitely have a focus where we get them all done by next week if that's what you want.
Well, I don't want to speak just about me, but I'm saying, like, I would rather have it so that I don't have to wait.
But, so this is, again, going back to everyone has to do it the same way. So you can't do it a week ahead. You can't.
No, I'm not saying do it ahead, but just do it. I know, put it on my calendar to have that office time. Do it. You're sending it out that week, and I already have appointments scheduled. I don't have office time.
This will be happening every week. So every week, nearly every week, if you look through this plan, there's going to be something. So what I would do is find a time that works for you, if it's Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and just consistently. Right. I mean, I wouldn't encourage you not to do it during downtime. Like, don't do it at a time where students might need to get a hold of you. You know, vary it up so that you're not always not available to students at that time. But I would block yourself off an hour every week, whatever you need to do. And I know the question that was asked earlier, how much time? And I think, again, that depends on how savvy you are. Like, I've seen Renee could teach us how to do technology. She's amazing. She probably would need, like, 13 minutes to do something where someone else might need 2 hours to do it. So, you know, I think after the first few weeks, you'll have a sense of how long it's taking you to do the thing. Yes, Anne? So, kind of, yes and no. So there have been a few hiccups with advisor assignment that are getting worked out. I'm still optimistic that we will be able to do that by the end of this week. Yes.
We still haven't talked about the Blackboard's not going to open up until.
That's correct, but you could still send a welcome note to all your students. Advisor assignment has happened.
Oh, okay.
So the week of January 22nd is just a welcome note, nothing in Blackboard. Does that make sense?
And have you sent it to
Not yet, because I didn't want you to send it out because we're still working through the advisor assignment.
Okay.
We just want to make sure everything is good to go there. And that's why, and I'll tell you my preference, and because sometimes things are happening, like those e-learning flag things that happened this week that caused me to have lots of gray hair. So that's why I hesitate to send, and this is totally my preference, you guys can totally disagree with me. My fear is I launch everything, and then life happens, like that e-learning flag issue, and if you didn't know not to do that, all of a sudden you'd be calling 700 students that didn't need to be called. So that's why I like to do it more piecemeal, only because then you can anticipate if there's a technology issue that happened or something. But again, that's just my 2 cents.
Stephanie?
Yes, I hear a voice. Oh, Denise, yes.
So for the RCT, anything that's going out to them, have to keep your wording exact?
That is I will defer to Hootie and Melissa, but I'm pretty sure yes.
Stephanie, could you repeat the question?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. The question was, so for the correspondence that's going out to the intervention group, does the language have to be the same from every advisor?
For the standard messages, yes.
Yes.
So the ones that we provide templates for, yes. The bulk of the message we're working through edits now, and yeah, because it is part of a study that has to remain true to the template.
So the area for personalization would be, again, based on the early alert survey, the combinations of flags that students get or midterms. So some of that would be more customizable. The majority of it will be pre-canned. And I think it's going to be hard for some of us. Like, I'm going to have to tone down my cheerfulness. Some of you may have to up your cheerfulness. Like, we're going to have to kind of meet in the middle. Like, I can't add all my smiley faces that I normally add. So it's going to be an adjustment for all of us to kind of meet in a moderate communication track, if that makes sense. Other questions so far?
By way of a reminder that there are certain messages that are part, as Stephanie pointed out, there are essentially 3 different kinds of messages. There's the Blackboard messages, there's a standard template, but there are also quite a few that are completely personalized, and because we understand how much you folks value that personalization, that piece is, you know, we're just going to provide some principles for that, but there's room there for customization, and you'll see that in the full when you see the full view of the messages.
Good. Okay. So again, hopefully by the end of this week, we'll be completely solidified with our advisor assignment, and we'll be able to send out those welcome notices just like we always do. By next week, we should have our Blackboard experiences built. As soon as we get that list back, and who's in the intervention group, we'll be able to populate that. So again, if you heard Mary Keith this morning, we hope by Monday or Tuesday at the latest that Blackboard is populated. So we'll be able to communicate to students through that. So we'll be sending out the Did You Knows. The self-analysis survey will also launch through Blackboard, and that's really just, and I didn't include it, but I will. That's essentially just a quick check-in. Again, these are at-risk students identified through the analytics. So it's a way of us kind of gauging, you're 2 weeks into the class now, how are you feeling about this semester? So it's just a way of gathering their self-analysis through a really quick test. It's called Test in Blackboard, but it'll be just a survey through Blackboard, just a way of kind of them gauging their own semester. Are there things that they're worried about? Is there any additional support that they need? It will also help connect them with some other resources on campus. So that will be going out next week. And then by the end of next week, we'll also be doing the early alert survey to the faculty to try to get that. So between those 2 pieces of information, hopefully you'll be able to get a sense of what these students look like for the semester. Where will their challenges be? Where will their opportunities be in many cases? Do you want me to go line by line, or should I just highlight the things that are unusual each week? What is your preference? Don't answer all at once. Like, do you want me to go, like, and then in February 5th, the week of February 5th, we're going to be doing this. Okay. So I'll assume that you can read them all. Question? Yes, I'm sorry.
And you're going to address. So, all right, we're sending messages out. Now, do we have to respond similar? So a student, comes back and he has questions. So our responses to them just be us.
Again, I'll defer to Melissa and Hootie, but I don't think we can anticipate every question, so I think that would be individualized, but please let me know if I'm wrong.
No, Stephanie, I think we're in agreement that responses that come from the student advisors have the discretion to then respond to those students with personal language.
Yeah. I love questions.
My question is that I think there's going to be a lot of questions. So I was wondering if I could see us all now coming to your offices at various times asking the same question or questions. Is there something that could be set up on a weekly, maybe at first, or a monthly basis that if we had questions, concerns about this? Because this is really important, and we want to make sure that we are understanding what we're doing or know what we're doing. It would be, I think, helpful to know that we could get together just, I don't know for how long.
So even just like how we did with the Blackboard pilot, just on a weekly or an every other week basis, just an opportunity to make sure that we're all.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Every you've gotten that question.
No, I think that's a terrific idea.
Then last semester when we were doing the piloting, scheduled them all, and then as you felt comfortable, you could attend or not.
Right.
Comfortable enough with it, then.
Right.
I would just use this as an opportunity, and I apologize for our colleagues on the phone, just as an opportunity to remind everyone, though, I do send them out via Outlook invitations, so you have to accept them so that they go on your calendars. So if you don't ever accept them, they will never go on your calendars. You will always have appointments during that time. So just be aware. I think it's a great idea. I'll run it past Nicole and Craig and Sam. I don't mean to put Craig on the spot, but I hope.
So 30 minutes, an hour?
Right.
I mean, it's just a temperature check.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does everybody else's calendar, does it appear in Starfish?
No,
Mine still
Tony
does
had to
not.
go through IT. Mine doesn't. I can't.
Mine still does not.
Mine doesn't
They
either.
tried in IT.
So I'll make sure you
Multiple
connect
people.
with Chris Torres as the expert. Chris has helped a number of people. So just remind me, Gay. He comes back on Monday. I can make sure you guys connect.
Yeah,
Just
mine
remind me
does
because I'll
not.
forget. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, if yours doesn't, so first of all, again, you have to accept the invitations in Outlook. So if you don't accept it, it's not going to help anything. But if you're accepting it and it's still not appearing in Starfish, please let me know, and then I will try to connect you with Chris Torres, who's amazing.
I've been doing reserve time myself.
You could do that, but it's hard.
Extra work.
And then I noticed, and I'm not going to pick on poor Sharon, but like you even had, because Phil changes the all-hands-on meetings all the time, so like you had one that was canceled, but because your Outlook and your Starfish weren't talking, you wouldn't remember to remove that. No one would remember to remove that.
I didn't remember. Yeah, you're right.
Right. So that's, I mean, that's the beauty of when Starfish and Outlook talk. You don't have to remember if things change or if things get canceled because it will automatically sync that together. So you'll never miss a meeting. That was one of the selling points of Starfish. So if it's not working, please let me know.
But now my problem is that it appears that, like, if I accept one meeting and decline the other because they're often given, they'll both be on my.
Let me know if
I decline one and accept the other.
Let me know if that happens because it shouldn't. Like as long as you take action on both.
Yeah, they're
Let me.
both on there, and then I go into calendar, delete the one, and then have the one on that I want, that I said I would.
Right. Definitely let me know. Oh, it could be how, and I'm so sorry for Melissa and Hootie, but I believe in Outlook, someone taught me the trick. You have, like when you decline something, it has to be like a notify, send a response. If you don't hit that, it's going to stay on your Starfish.
You're not responding to Starfish to the assignment.
I thought I was responding to the meeting person setting up the meeting.
Well, that's
I
good.
don't care.
So yeah, so that setting might be the blitz issue. But yeah, so if you're having any Starfish Outlook integration issues, let me know. If I can't fix them, I know experts who can. Okay. Yes. Yes, it'll come through your Blackboard Advisor 2. It'll come through your Blackboard experience. So what you'll do is you'll go in, and I wish Mary Kate has, we'll try to get another training on the books soon, so Mary Kate can come back. So this will appear in the grade book of that Blackboard where you'll be able to see everybody's responses. And I'll have Mary Kate come back and show you how to download those if you want or how to look at individual people. So yes. It'll be specific to you. It's going to be Tony's RCT intervention students and their responses. I don't know, David, if you have a number yet, or Melissa, how many people will be going to the intervention this semester? I know our target is 500, but I don't know how many will be in the intervention group.
I will have to see. I think we'll actually have the possibility to do more than that.
Okay.
We'll see about that. We'll get you an answer by the end of the week, early next week.
So 500 divided by 23, I think turned out to be like 32 students for each of us. Again, but we don't know what the risk factor is. It may turn out that nursing has a higher risk factor, so they get disproportionately high. I mean, we don't know what that looks like yet, but it should be, I would hope that it's surmountable.
They're going to do a fairly equal distribution.
Okay. So it shouldn't be much more than what a class would be, a class size or so. Well, that's what your advisor caseload is based upon, so you would think it would be proportional. One would think, yes. Other questions so far? So we're going through February. Everything is pretty standard. We will continue to do those to-do reminders that we did in the fall semester in Starfish. So reminding them, as to the point earlier today when we were talking about getting students done earlier, reminding them to do their orientation earlier, reminding them to do their My Career Plan earlier, so we're not in the same situation of trying to catch them in August. So we'll be raising those same to-dos, and I'll be sending out directions on how to do that. So raising those to-dos on the students to get them in. And then that is canned language that will just go after the student to remind them to do that. Make sense? Okay. In March, now we're starting to get into possibly registration time, so we're going to be setting out appointment reminders to those students. And then midterms come for the 15 weeks. They'll be reaching out for the midterms for the students, just like we've always done. The only difference is we will now be encouraging you or requiring you to wait until all midterms are in. So this, to Lori's point earlier, you might want to look at the date, and I don't have it in front of me, of when those midterms are in, and you might want to block off some time that week to do that, office time. And again, it's the 15-week. I forget when it is. And then more reminders. Another survey will launch through Blackboard at the end of the semester, kind of just seeing how those intervention students are faring as they get towards the end. More appointment reminders, registration reminders, etc. And then we finally end up in May. And hopefully everyone's successful, and our retention rates are like 99%. It's amazing. Anyone need an Oreo? Yes. Yes. So I believe, and I don't have the registration calendar in front of me, I believe strategically they always, for the 15-week, they gave a week. Like, I think that's how, I think Sherry counts backwards. So if, and I'm using simplistic, like if the withdrawal deadline is March 20th, then midterms close the 13th. So we always have a week. I'm making up those dates. I don't know what the dates are.
I know that, but was that all looked at? Because I like all along.
Correct. But the theory is that you don't have a true picture of the student if you're getting them piecemeal. Again, I don't have the registration calendar in front of me, so I don't know what the actual dates are. I believe that when Sherry looks at it, she actually discounts the week of spring break because it's not business week. So I think then in that case, then we would have actually 2 weeks between midterms and withdrawal deadline. Like I think she, like if she's counting 7 days, it's 7 business days, and those aren't business days for an academic.
That?
Yes.
Withdrawal with faculty signature ends on 4/7.
Okay. And what about without faculty signature? Do you have that? You're so prepared. I love it.
Without, yes, it ends on 3/23.
Okay. And then when do you have the midterm dates?
No, they're not on here.
No, that would be too easy.
60% of term date, there's no dates here. Excused withdrawal only begins at 75%. So I guess that's 75% completed. That's on 4/8.
Right. I'll look at that, but I'm pretty sure, I remember talking to Sherry and saying, you know, you can't count that time as the week between because it's not business operations. Correct. Correct. Yes. So I'll check on that.
Stephanie?
I'm sorry, was there a question? Yes.
Have you accounted for instances where people are out sick for, say, a week at a time or vacation?
I will certainly defer to Sam and Craig and Nicole to that. I don't know. We can't get sick. We can't take a vacation. You're expected 24/7 to be here. I don't know what that answer is. Melissa and Hootie, I don't know if you have anything from a research standpoint. Certainly, you know, if someone's extended sick time is unexpected, we'll have to make other considerations. But like for a week's vacation, what is your thought about that?
That's a really good question, Stephanie. Let's just ponder that for a minute. We completely understand, obviously, that those are situations that are going to come up. We'll have an answer for you on that, on how to address that. I imagine what we would do is, rotate it and have somebody else do that message. We'll just want to make a note of that somehow in the data so we know that a different advisor possibly for these couple of weeks did the outreach than the one that the student is assigned to or something like that. But perhaps we can, between, Craig, you and I, when we meet on Friday, can figure out something that's actually feasible to fulfill that, because certainly those are going to come up.
Great question, Denise. So we'll keep you posted. So Sam, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Holly told me that Jeff and Frank are going to be assigned to her students for the duration of her being out.
Yes, until she comes back.
Yes. And we'll certainly let David know that as well, so that way that's an additional variable that he'll be tracking for those students. David K., I'm pointing to him, you can't see him though. Okay, so I'll follow up with that. Any other questions? You guys are much quieter after lunch than you were before lunch. Hi. Yes.
Yeah, hi, Stephanie. Quick question. So,
sure.
I'm thinking about last fall and this spring when we were trying to call over 1,000 students to get them to complete their online orientation and my career plan and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
Question and thought is, will we be working with marketing or anybody like that to do some sort of campaign to put it out there? Hey, please do these things before the end of the semester, and will we consider giving them a deadline to do it? Because what I don't want to see happen is right around March, towards the end of the semester, we have all these students that have not done it, and if they don't want to pre-register for the fall, they won't do it until maybe late August, right before they decide, oh yeah, I want to go back to school, so let me come in and register. Have we kind of thought about that at all?
So I'll certainly let Angela speak in a second. From our morning meeting in Blackboard, I think we've definitely danced around that idea of rewarding students. One idea was something, even just have person who completes the My Career Plan once a week, and we'll give them like a $5 gift card to the cafeteria, something to raise awareness, and we'll certainly loop marketing in and let them guide us in that respect. But yes, I think we all feel that we have to get the word out earlier, better, and more consistently to these students. So from there, I'll let Angela.
Yeah, I mean, I think partially that's why I'm here, Sam, so I can kind of know what you guys are doing on the ground on a more personal level with your students, and then we can figure out how to best plug in a mass message to respective groups so that we can take some of that burden off of you guys and start to raise that awareness level a little bit.
Yeah, if anyone has any ideas, again, I think some of those ideas from the morning meeting about rewarding the students who are doing it, communicating earlier, but if anyone has any other ideas, you can certainly bring them to anybody, Craig, me, Angela, and Sam, Nicole, anyone, because I think, we're in a place where we don't want to be back where we were in December, where we had 1,900 students that hadn't done anything yet. So I think the more we can do, the better.
I also think the semester My Career Plan rolled out late. So right. we were starting behind the eight ball, so.
Right. And I will say, I think Phil said it, probably the 4th time I'm saying it today, we all have to be doing the same thing. I know in the fall there were a few hundred students that got by somehow not doing orientation and or My Career Plan. We can't do that from a research standpoint. So whether you personally feel they're good things or bad things or you're indifferent to them, especially for the iPASS group and especially for the RCT group, we don't have options. Again, you can vent all you want. My door is always open, but we really have to all be on the same page with this. There's really no room for someone to decide they don't want to engage in a certain requirement. So just as an FYI for that. Yes, Margaret, I'm sorry.
How about signage? I know late in the game we got the signage out with the My Career Plan and the online orientation, the placards. Are we going to do anything like that
part of that is how, and we've been having this conversation in the iPASS world in a lot of different ways. So we have all these great tools for our students, right? And what the college has done in the past is we call the tools by their name. How that ends up being perceived by the student is kind of overwhelming, because I don't know if any of you guys feel like this, but it's overwhelming for me as an employee, right? So when we talk to them about self-service, web advisor, Starfish, Success Network, right? We're throwing 25 things at them. We need to figure out a way to simplify that message and point them to one place that then has multiple actions that they can take. So that's why you're starting to see things come together a little bit. So the Blackboard shelf is labeled as My Advisor, right? Jobsology is My Career Plan. The financial planning tool down the road would be My Financial Plan, My Education Plan. So we're starting to develop some theming here, and the idea is that we're driving them to one place on the portal, and everything's right at their fingertips. And they don't have to know the terminology. They don't have to know what tool to go to for what. It's all right there, and it's more action-based. So something that we're working through within kind of the iPASS conversations, it's a great point. But as we start to kind of theme that out a little bit more, then you'll start to see more around campus on the screens and different signage and stuff.
So you would do something like, have you checked your quick link today? Quick link has all this.
Possibly. Yep. Yeah. Ideally, you know, where I'd like to see it go is where we're sending them to portal and maybe not calling it portal, right? Maybe it's My Monco, or right? We already kind of call it My MCs, right? We're sending them there and everything is right there. They don't have to click quick links. They're there, right? So it's just thinking through that user experience and all of the different messages that we're throwing at our students. Because this is one lane of messaging, too. This isn't even touching, you know, any of their payment messaging that they're getting, or any of their, you know, the more broad marketing related to registering, or anything that they're getting out of OrgSync, or any, right? So we're trying to put ourselves in that headspace from a student's perspective of look at everything that we're sending to them as the college. From their perspective, it's all coming from the college. They don't care what department it's coming from. It's their interaction with the college. So we're thinking through all of that. But yeah, that's kind of the mentality. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions so far? Okay. So next slide. You want to cover this one? Okay. So this is just, again, reiterating so much of what we already said. It's just we're going to provide you with as many templates as possible, especially for the RCT, the borderline BILIs. You have to use them for consistency and continuity, so it's important to use those, and hopefully they're helpful, not intending to be burdensome. When responses are more open-ended, some guidelines will be given, like make sure you hit on these things, but you'll have the freedom to devise your own messaging at that point. Again, please, and this will be one of the most important things, is to make sure that we're adding notes after we're doing the outreach. That way it's documented somewhere that we did the outreach. Because right now, if you're using Outlook or Blackboard, I mean, Starfish is the repository of things, and there's even times, because I use Outlook a lot, and Nicole will come to me and say, did you communicate to the student because it's not in Starfish? And I'm like, oh, yes, I could use Outlook. So it'll be a reminder to all of us, and I'll try to put those in the weekly things that I send out. Don't forget to add that note in Starfish so that is captured. And then please make sure if you're not feeling comfortable that you attend the Friday training about mail merge, so that way you get comfortable with that notion. Yes, Gay, I'm sorry.
So when I send out things, I do the send the message. So now you want us to send it to add a note or do it add a note edition?
So we won't be doing sending messages anymore. We'll probably doing most things either through Blackboard or Outlook through mail merge, which we'll be learning about on Friday. And then once you've done that, then your job will be to go in and add a note, not sending it to the student, but just email the student about registration or something, just to document that the outreach had occurred. And I'll send reminders about that as well.
So when we're doing the mail merge, we're going to have that list not going twice.
Correct. So that was Lori's excellent point earlier. Like, you've already found the students that this applies to. You just have to go in and add a note to all of them. And you can select multiple students and add the same note to all of them. And then finally, especially for our research especially for our RCT group, tracking will be done. We will be held accountable to this for the more so than we've ever been held accountable in many ways, because that's really what their research is all about. There is conversation happening about getting a part-time person, not an advisor, but someone to really help support Craig and Sam especially in like data collection. So like every time we send them something, we might be sending it to this person who will be essentially keeping track of all of this outreach to ensure that it has been done. So it will be very, again, if there's nothing else you've taken away from today, please remember everyone has to be doing the same things, because again, if we let a student get by the system, if we bend the rules, we're compromising the integrity of the research. So it's really important that we're all on the same page as much as possible. Any questions, any comments from our colleagues? Yes.
I'm going to out myself because in January, I was one of those people who registered students who did not have both of their assignments.
30 lashes.
But if I'm understanding all this correctly, and I'm not saying that I did the right thing, but if I'm understanding this correctly, it's the RCT students that they won't have that. That's not their to-do list, correct?
So the My Career Plan will be part of their to-do list, yes.
Okay. So if we see a student in August, the week before classes start, and they have not done My Career Plan, and they are an RCT student, they must do that before we can register them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to mess up.
Yeah. And I will tell you, and David and Angela were both there, David and I presented at the Board of Trustees on Monday night, when it was a pretty interesting night to be there, and in case you haven't read Dr. Pollock's update. And we were asked specifically by a Board of Trustees member who is very strongly opinionated, do you let students go past? And David didn't answer, so I had to. And I said the college has made a commitment, and Dr. Pollock was there, Phil was there, Celeste was there. The Board of Trustees appreciated the answer that the college is committed to this. I think that I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure Dr. Pollock has come to our group before. The college, for good or for bad, is committed to making students do these. The more, we're all on the naughty list for some students, believe me, Joan, including myself. The more we bend the rules, we all know students don't do optional. If I make them do it, they're going to turn around and say, well, Joan didn't make me do it. I think we're supporting ourselves. I think we all have been in that situation where one advisor doesn't follow the rules, and then the next advisor has to pay for that. You know, if you don't tell a student that they have to do placement testing, and then I have to have that conversation, then we don't know what we're talking. You know, then it's just not a good student experience. So my short answer is we all, between iPASS and RCT, we all have to be on the same page. The college has, whether we like it or not, the college has made this commitment to require this of students.
So Nicole or Phil will not be coming back to us and saying, this student waited 3 hours to see you, and it was only because you made them go in and do My Career Plan. Why didn't you just register the student?
But you can still put clear on expectations and situations as such. You can still meet with the student, have the experience with the student, build the plan out. The student still needs to complete. And then once they go and schedule their classes, they should email you, say, hey, I've completed these things, you'll verify, and then you hit the registration button.
See, but that's what we do, and that, to me, is a waste of time. And I hope that part of the research, they could look at the dates that these students completed these to see who does better. Somebody who registers in August and has to do these at a crunch, or people who do these in advance. And I think that,
Like what you're getting to, but also you can't review the
yeah, it's a waste, and for them to do the orientation.
what the school, I guess we'll go over tomorrow, what the school box is saying we're supposed to do. So because Craig, that's what I was trying to do. If they're in the reg lab working on this stuff, I'll bring them to my desk, let's plan everything out, and then email me, and then I'm thinking, wait a minute, I don't even get to go over the...
And the orientation, to do that at the end of the semester, is a waste of time. Right, exactly.
Never happened. You know, after, what did you say, maybe the end of October, the beginning of November, we started to get people out there. That kind of.
So the goal, and what the challenge we have in front of us is that we're changing culture. So we don't want to be in the same place this time again next year. So now we have to begin marketing encouragement by way of the promises of nudges to get in here before time. I had a conversation with a young man first semester. I know what's coming down the pipeline. He may not be in the know. I gave him the sheet before you register when registration opens up. These are the things that you're going to have to do. Let's not wait until the last minute. So I'm going to challenge everyone in the room, as you are encountering students, we need to begin messaging because it'll save us stress on the back end. The more students we can get in sooner, we can have those meaningful conversations, which is what the design was actually designed to do, to have that meaningful conversation.
But I think I would like to have that information to see how those students, to me, a student who has everything outlined, I have to do this, I have to do this, they're going to be better students than somebody waiting till the last minute.
Well, and David probably knows this better than anybody, but we know that students who register in the last 21 days have a lower success rate period. I mean, we know that. So again, the more we can be doing to front load some of these things.
No, I agree with you, but it's still going to be that group of people who are going to be waiting until last minute. You have a February 15th deadline. It's a soft deadline.
Correct. There's nothing we can do.
I know, but that's always going to be the problem.
Right.
There's no getting around it, and to go back to some of the earlier slides in terms of study time. Right, and us identifying these students, so the bulk of our time, energy, and effort will be focused on these particular students that you're referencing. So the intention and the thought and the hope is that all of these nudges will get these students out of their bad behaviors, which has landed them in this particular bucket. This one right here. So, like Stephanie said before, the bulk of your energy is focused on a plethora of students. Now it's more tailored and targeted towards the students you're actually referencing by way of all of these additional weekly prompts and conversations that we're going to have.
I think the challenge, too, with our rolling registration cycle and in continuous registration mode, right, there's never a good time to do stuff like this because there's never a clean cut from semester to semester when we open registration. So no matter when we implement new practices, new outreach, new anything, we're always behind, right? There's almost no way to avoid it. It's messy for the first little bit, and it's going to have to kind of settle itself out. And the hope is that as we start to operationalize some of these things, it becomes less messy down the road.
I'm concerned with all the messages that we send out because students that I've had the last couple of weeks, my first question is, where you been? And some of them knew to do stuff, most of them didn't, and then I pull up their record and say, I sent you 8 emails. Did you read any of them? Nope. I'm like, it's so important. I would love to see them log in and have something flash up that says, hey, you got to get this done. Or send them a text message. They're not reading emails. I don't know how weekly emails is going to be like, oh, here comes another one, here comes another one. They're not even going to read them. They don't care. I sent 8 messages. And people still sat there and did not do both sides. And then I'm sending them to the red lab, then they're coming back for me to push the button. Now I'm seeing them twice. Like,
and I had students, I saw the emails from you guys, but I questioned it. I knew the advisor. I know that the advisor sent you emails, and I get responses like, yeah, I saw them. That was it. I mean, it was like not, no one's taking it seriously.
And I think some of that, again, and our folks from CCRC and MDRC will help us in crafting language that basically says you will not, and I think, to speak to Craig's point, we've had a culture here of we say one thing, we do another.
But if you're a brand new student, you don't know that culture unless you have friends staying here.
And a lot of them do, though, or a lot of them just have the expectation, well, community college is going to be like this. But I think the more we say, do you understand you are not going to be able to register and, and using, I think we, and I'll say I, use too soft language. I think some of it we will have to be a little more assertive when we're messaging to students, to get them to understand.
But then they have to read it.
Correct.
40 students were waiting, and they're all sitting there for hours and then bothered.
And that's their choice.
You know, I think some of my concern is, I think it's great what we're doing with the borderline Billy, who is not, who has a chance to really pull things around or to turn things around. But moderate Millie, probation Patty, and appeal Paulo, I think other than...
You love those names. Admit it, everybody.
But I think other than, and I think it's great, the workshops, everything else, but as an institution, maybe they need to say probation students must register by 12.
Otherwise you spend all the semester.
They're the ones that are coming in that are so late registering, that are registering today, well, I'll call for yesterday, or whatever. We're losing them. That's who we're losing.
Right.
I think the institution needs to take a hard look.
You can only registering for a 10-week or a 7-week class, which they're going to fail. They shouldn't even be allowed to take accelerated courses.
Absolutely.
I mean, that should be another...
And maybe that's another research design that we do.
If I could just say to that, every meeting that I have with our higher-ups, I'm pushing a registration deadline. I'm pushing it. I'm getting in trouble for pushing it, but I'm going to continue to push it because other institutions have a deadline, and we're the only ones that you can just come the day classes start, take a test, pay your fee, and register all in one day.
Right.
So to your point, I just want to say I'm with you, and I'm pushing for that, but those that have been here much longer than I have, you know that is not something that is going to happen at the drop of a hat. So I'm just, kind of bear with us, as we push through that. But, again, as Craig mentioned, we're changing a culture with our students, and it's going to take a slow process, but I think it can begin with this new crop that comes in. With every new student that comes in, as we get in front of it more and more, hopefully it'll begin to slowly change that culture over time. But my goal, and I expressed this specifically to Phil, is to put at least a registration deadline in place for the fall. Say, hey, if you're coming here this fall, registration deadline is this.
You know what?
Stay tuned. We'll see what happens.
I think it's easier to change the culture for the students than it is to change the culture for the administration. Because the administration, if we told students they had to do this by this amount of time, then that would be the rule. But the college is not willing to have that as a rule. I think it's very unfair that last night I could register a student for a class that started on the 18th. I really was, somehow to me it's different. A student who came and they sit in the class and they wanted to withdraw an ad, they were there, and somehow I feel like they could do better. But the people who are just coming in who have that opportunity and they've already missed a week of school, that's outrageous. It is.
The other thing is that probably money stops people from registering early more than anything else because they want to have their money first before they register instead of registering, securing the seat at the time they can get it so they can work the jobs around it or whatever. But change that mindset.
Absolutely. And
second to that, I'm one of the folks, I try to do my best to hold them to going to MCCC.
My career plan, MCP.
Orientation. So I would make them set up a plan, send it to me, and I got some slack because I didn't happen to see the email right away to get them registered at a time, and they want to get up in my world about that. issue is, for me, from the research perspective, who is going to check the notes to see how this happened? Did we send them to do the MCP and orientation first? Is it in the notes? Is anybody reviewing that closely to see what the actual results are?
I don't think anyone is right now, but I think going forward, it would be interesting to look at dates. I think they're going to be looking at a lot of different things, a lot of different data collection points.
But just making a phone call from the standpoint, I mean, if 1,900 students registered, blinking of an eye, a lot of what we heard or learned was that financial one of the
I still think people are coming and they say, well, I'm going to apply for financial aid when I get home. I don't think they think about paying for college when they even come for an appointment.
And I will just add, and I know everyone has to leave, but as we're talking about change of culture, some of us, it's more of a change even on our part. Like, as we're going to start to see students coming in for summer and fall in the blink of an eye. So it's really, even though they're not required to do the orientation in the My Career Plan yet, it's a great opportunity of saying, do this now. So I think, again, it has to be the forefront of our mind as we're talking to students, just as much as we want it to be in the forefront of their minds as well.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yes, of course.
Again, change, it will be easier to establish a culture, change a culture. So these newbies that are coming in, whatever you would like to see this particular individual being your student, you can shape and mold him or her. So easier to establish a culture than change one.
So these students who are coming in March and they want to register for summer or fall, they have to have those two things done.
That has not been officially
The
decided.
new students coming in summer and fall, yeah, I'm hoping that we get an answer on that. I just sent an email today.
Yeah. So stay tuned. We're very, very optimistic that will be the case. We just have to have the official decision.
Yes, from a marketing standpoint, as soon as we get that go-ahead, anyone that's got their application completed, that all their other steps are done right now, from now until registration opens, that's going to be our push to them. Get these two things done. So that's absolutely our intent on our side, is that
What does do mean?
coming in summer or fall.
I got it. But there might be a person who's transferring who's got 75 credits.
That's
They still got to do that?
Degree seeking.
But I think, couldn't you do it like for somebody who transfers in a certain number of credits that they maybe don't have to do this? I mean, I can see we have plenty of students who went to another college, did not do well, and now.
I think the problem, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Angela, we don't know that time of application because their transcripts haven't been evaluated. They think they have 70 credits, but they're from a non-accredited institution.
For a transfer student for online orientation, they most likely had some problems at their original school. I think they should do.
Some of them are just coming here though to get prerequisites.
It should be gas.
So, no, not if they want financial aid.
I know.
They've gotten their bachelor's degree. They're here for one semester. They want to take 2 courses and then, whatever.
But I do think, but the orientation, though, is not just a college orientation. It's also a Moscow policy orientation. So there are some things in there that they should know what our drop withdrawal policy is.
You always recommend the orientation, but for somebody that's been in school for a while, I'm not making them do My Career Plan.
Have to.
But there's the link, we talked about this earlier today. There's more tools than just a career assessment. It's the LinkedIn, it's an employee opportunity. There's a lot of different opportunities in there for them.
I mean, we could recommend it, but to make them do it when they've got 3 years of education under their belt?
But, Tony, as of right now, we have, and that's what I'm saying, we all have to do the same thing. There are no more judgment calls.
That's crazy. I got it. I recommend it, but to require them to do it is another thing.
You have to require it, otherwise people will be like, get off the naughty list already.
Okay, thank you, Udi and Melissa.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you all. We'll look forward to touching base tomorrow again.
See you tomorrow.
All right.